entrepreneurship, got that inspiration. Yeah, now I'm just doing it, working on these.
Hey everybody, so just want to take a quick moment here. I had the pleasure yesterday, I had the pleasure of being on with a quick Connect call with Patrick Bet-David. That call lasted for about 15 minutes. It was a great call. You know, you don't always get that opportunity to get to speak with a man of his status, which is why the Connect Act was even invented. So props to Patrick Bet-David for creating a great app like that to connect people like us to these influencers and the ability to have these conversations with these people. So it was a great conversation. Really enjoyed my time. I actually consume a lot of Patrick's content, so I also wanted to take a listen to his show today, which you know, they brought up the subject today about content creation and about, you know, having your own podcast. So I actually was part of that conversation on today's podcast. I was actually that contractor that Patrick Bet-David was mentioning about, the plumbing contractor here in San Diego. So with that said, it was still a great conversation. I think what the point of it was is that Patrick kind of missed what I was actually trying to pitch to him. So I want to bring up the video real quick of Patrick Bet-David and the conversation that he was having on today's podcast, so that you guys can kind of get the context to what he was actually describing in his video today. To his point, I mean, podcasts are not easy. You know, nobody goes into podcasting thinking that they're going to be an overnight success. That was not my intention, thinking that I'm going to be some overnight success on this podcast by any stretch of the imagination. Realistically, I'll get more into detail on my intention with that call with Patrick, and kind of wanted to break down a little bit of the context of today's video with the call that I had with Patrick. And I'll go into with sharing my screen. And in doing so, I will bring up the video that Patrick, let's see if I can pull this up real quick. Yeah, so this is going to go
people that are trying to think about starting their own podcast or starting their own podcast. You think this is easy? You think you just get some?
Yeah, so this is a part of where Adam gets into talking about, you know, thinking if it's easy to start your podcast. And to his point, it is not easy. So there's no part in me saying that this was an easy thing. So let's get into what the context of this video was about, and we'll let Adam talk, let this kind of play out. Hopefully you guys can hear the audio, and we'll go from there.
Microphones and start talking, and voila, you have 1 million subscribers. Breaking news. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Speaking of everyone would do it, I believe that podcasting is the new .com of the 2000s, or cryptos of the 2010s, or NFTs of 2 years ago. And now everyone's jumping on board. What's the story back in the day when it comes to investing? It's like buy the rumors, sell the news. Podcasts are in the news, buddy.
Yep.
Time to sell. And you have no idea how many people I speak to. Like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. And I do everything I can to talk them out of it. I'm like,
yeah, and totally, I can understand where Adam is coming from on this. It's, you know, podcasting is not easy. You definitely want to study a lot about how to, you know, get your lighting right, get your backgrounds right, get a lot of things right when you're trying to get your podcast started. This is a brand new podcast. Let's, you know, let people know that up front. My podcast is called Contractor Stories. I am a contributor to this podcast. Actually, it was my idea behind doing this podcast, but I wanted to bring on somebody way more talented than myself to be the host, so I brought on Jim Clouk, which, you know, you'll get more of his story later. But Jim Clouk is a guy that's been in the podcast space for quite some time, has a much better radio voice than me. Obviously sounds a lot better than I do, does a lot better things than I do. So I'm not really trying to create, you know, the show in terms of my, you know, being the star of this show. I truly just want to be able to be what Patrick, describes as a value-tainer. And that's what my purpose of the call was. I think that there's a lot of value that we can bring in the blue collar space, and that blue collar space has kind of been left out. And so I really just wanted to bring to his light, the opportunity that Contractor Stories is going to be bringing a lot of really great contractors on here that have a great story to tell, but they're also very successful. And yes, I've been successful as well in the contracting world. We're doing some good things in the blue collar space. Our businesses are attracting a lot of private equity out there, but that's not the purpose of what the phone call was about. And some of that was brought up in the context, and I'll continue to let this play out.
Oh, yeah. What are you going to do when you're doing it for a year and you have 12 subscribers?
Right.
Or you spend 4 hours doing a video and you get 100 views.
Yeah.
At what point you're going to be like, dude, this ain't worth it? It ain't worth it out there for most people. You talked about famous people who have.
But I will say something there, just to
Sure.
challenge you a little bit on that. So it depends on what the outcome is. Meaning, I think everybody should consider starting a podcast.
Yeah. So right there, Patrick kind of gets into, his point. Yes, everybody should start a podcast that has, some sort of purpose, reason, or opportunity that gets them out there, gets their message out there, get people connected with other people. And there is a purpose for starting podcasts, but you do have to have a purpose and a why. So I'll let Patrick kind of get more into the details of this, and so I can kind of point out with my conversation with him on this podcast that he's currently on right here, that he recorded as of today. The conversation that he's having here about, the type of people that call him to pitch a podcast to him truly was not the purpose of my call with him. And I think, I'd love to be able to have that opportunity to clear that up with him, and hopefully I'll be able to do so. But anyway, I'll continue to let Patrick speak here.
Okay, but what's the outcome? For example, watch what I'm saying here to you. Guy calls me, he says, "Hey Pat, if you give us $1 million per year, we'll do a podcast with you." I'm like, okay, you ever done that before? No.
Okay, so yes, that part was not me. I didn't call up Patrick Bet-David and say, "Hey Patrick, I've got this great idea. If you pay me $1 million a year, you can have my podcast." No, this part's not me. So we'll rush through this area right here, but just want to bring context to what we're talking about.
No, but I have a lot of juicy stories. Okay, how many? 1, 2? No, I got 50. Okay, but what are you doing it for? Is it just for money? I think we can get a lot of money. We're seeing what's going on with podcasting. That's a risk. I had a call with a guy yesterday, 15-minute minute.
All right, so this is the 15-minute call. Yes, that was with me, Bob Mueller here. Here in San Diego, this was definitely not about me pitching my plumbing company to him, or was this about a pitch for, if you can have my podcast. If this was not the type of message, but let's go into what he was describing our call was.
With a guy yesterday, asking me questions. So he goes to Minek.com, and on there you get 450 Mineks. A bunch of people are asking questions about dating, all this stuff. You get Mineks. People want to ask you about comedy, all these things.
Charisma.
Tom, they do Minek with you all the time on business advice, raising money. And Rob, if you can put the link below to Minek to go download the app, it's available on Google and Apple and all over the place. Anyways, so he asked me a question. He says, "Hey Pat, what I want to do is I got this podcast, and I've been doing plumbing for this many years, and we're blowing up, and the plumbing business and the construction business, we're selling companies for $200 million. We're doing."
Okay, so yes, when you have only 15 minutes on a call with somebody and you really have just very little time, and of course you spend the first 5, maybe 7 minutes, just kind of going into the backstory, kind of like talking to Patrick, giving him his accolades. Obviously you want to be able to let the guy know that you're a fan, and you want to let him know that, hey, the purpose of my call is A, to connect with you, B, I kind of want to build context to why I wanted to call you. And then you really only have 5 minutes at that point to really kind of pitch what you're trying to talk to him, because I'm telling you, with the Connect app, once that call is done and you got a timer on that, it's timing you. So like when this call is happening, I can see how much time I have left. And when I've got like 5 minutes left and I'm trying to go as fast as I can to explain to Patrick what it is I'm trying to do here, it literally blows by, and you don't have the time that you really need to kind of pitch this thing. It's kind of like a Shark Tank moment, and it really went by quick. So I'll continue on with what Patrick was describing here with our phone call, and I'll let you hear his side, and then I'll kind of break it back to the context I was trying to make.
Successful, super successful guy, but I'm willing to bring my podcast to you.
Okay. All right. So there was never a mention of I'm willing to bring my podcast to you. The whole conversation was, hey, I've got this brand new podcast. I'd love you to take a look at it, because my purpose for doing this podcast is so that I can connect blue collar people to the Valuetainment side. So it's more about eyeballs. So if we can get this podcast kind of started together using your influence, obviously you're right, I don't have a big audience on my podcast, it's brand new, so let's just keep listening. So that's my side of it, and I just want to keep bringing context to this.
So I'm like, really, what's the name of your podcast? I go online, 29 views.
Oh, great.
32
correct,
views.
man.
For $1 million,
82 views.
for $1 million bucks.
No, but the way he said it, like, I'm willing.
Never was there a mention for me asking for money from Patrick. I don't need Patrick's money for the podcast. I really just wanted to be able to talk to him, describe kind of what the podcast is going to be. I really want this to be a special one to help, the young entrepreneurs out there, the blue collar entrepreneurs out there, really to be able to connect them, because, it's hard to get views, and Patrick's right. It's very hard to get views. And for me to be able to get the kind of views that I want, and to help as many contractors as I can, I need people's influence. And that's the purpose of my call with him. So more than just me asking for any money, which I never did. All I did was try to bring context to what I was trying to do, give him a vision for the podcast so that I can try to connect people. He's got great consultants. There's a lot of reasons why, and the whole purpose of what Patrick says about his podcast is to valuetain, right? So if it's truly to valuetain, and that's the purpose for the PBD podcast and the Valuetainment platform, I believe that that's what this podcast is going to be about. This is completely value for the people that need to be connected with these type of people that come onto our podcast. And then it's also entertaining. We got really great stories, of some really great people. I don't know if people understand how great this industry is, and some of the most successful people you can imagine. I mean, we've got, and this is what I was trying to explain to him. I mean, yes, we have guys that have exited their companies for $200 million, guys that are exiting daily, I'm not going to say daily, guys that are exiting at, massive exits in this industry right now. And realistically, there's opportunities out there for young guys to get into this space, understand business. I mean, nobody understands business better than Patrick. Patrick's one of the most brilliant guys out there. He's got, a great platform. Realistically, this whole purpose of the call was not to say, look at what I can do for you, Patrick. It was more of a call that was like, hey, let's collaborate, so that I can bring the blue collar people to the Valuetainment platform. And let's try to get some eyeballs on this podcast and try to get people connected to your people. That's really what the purpose of the phone call was. So I think it was taken out of context, but I want you to continue to listen to what Patrick had to say.
To bring the podcast to you.
Yeah. Like, you should be lucky.
That's the wrong approach. Why is that the wrong approach?
Mhm.
Your first thing you got to do it because you want to do it. Number two, don't do it because you want to make money, because it's very hard. If you do it just because you want to make money, it's going to take a lot of years for you to make money with it. But do it because you want to do it. Even if it's once a month, you start with once a week, you do something like that. Then once you have a proof of concept that you're winning out there, then we'll find you. Like when Vinny first.
Okay, so Yes, absolutely. I mean, from a media standpoint, you don't come to somebody's massive show like a Patrick Bet David show and say, hey, I've got these 21 views and come on. I mean, yeah, I've got less than 2,000 subscribers right now. We're literally just started this podcast less than a month ago. We're just launching this September 11th for this podcast, and it's going to be a special podcast. We are going to get the views that we're going to be looking for, and that's not the purpose for me bringing it to Patrick. Realistically, the whole purpose for me to take this thing to you, Patrick, was so that you could get a feel for the professionalism that I want to bring to the show, the type of high-level entrepreneurs that are on our show already. I mean, we're talking about multimillionaire people that have done really well in the space, and to say that that I got to prove myself. I mean, here, I've been busting my butt for 35 years in this industry, and I've made it to the pinnacle of where, well, I'm not at the pinnacle. I'll say that I'm getting there still. So I'm still, on my way up. I'm going to get there. But I have a bigger purpose. I really, really, really want to be able to bring this type of platform to the blue collar people out there, get eyeballs on our podcast, and do that through, branding with the Valuetainment company, and connect his type of consultants to people that want to start, these businesses. I mean, these businesses are very, very valuable. And, if there's truth behind valuetaining here, there's no more bigger value than young people wanting to start businesses, as well as bringing those people that you want to help in your consulting place from our podcast to your consulting firm. So that's the whole reason why I really wanted to, just kind of get the seed set with you, Patrick. That was more the purpose of the phone call. Obviously, when you have like less than 5 minutes to try to pitch that, it was a little hard to explain it, but let's keep going into what Patrick had to say.
Reached out to me. I'm like, remember one time I was sitting there showing you Vinny videos way before Vinny.
The baseball one.
Yeah, I'm showing Vinny videos. I'm like, this freaking guy is so funny. It wasn't baseball. It was, yeah, so we're going to go out there to Vinny DeLucci. So, hey, what's going on out there? And I was like, who is this? The mafia stuff, right? Kayvon. I watch Kayvon's videos on the skits he's doing. And, I come back from Harvard. I'm like, Tom, you got to start doing a show for case study. We didn't do it because Tom's going to make money. I talked to him like, dude, you got to get on camera. I don't know what you're going to be doing, but you got to do something. You didn't want to do any of this stuff.
2016.
That was in 2016.
Yeah.
But that's the right way to get into it, because there's a love of the game. If you got a love of the game, you're going to, some people, and by the way, online, they're freaking brutal. They'll tell you, what an idiot. Oh, he's so full of himself. Oh, look at you. He thinks he's funny. Look how ugly he is.
Yeah.
Look at his this. Look at it. They're not going to hold back of making fun of you. So for me, I say, do it if you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't do it if you want to get rich.
I will.
Okay, so I think, Patrick, that the purpose of this show is for the right reasons. I'm 100% committed to this industry. I've been committed to this industry for over 35 years. I'm out there trying to now invent content to actually valuetain, and I really just wanted to send a message to, the contracting world out there that we've got a unique podcast. We have a lot of fun doing it. We bring on some great, entertaining guests, very high level guys, 7, 8, 9 figure guys. And we're going to connect those people to the people that need to get that entertainment. And I'm not saying that we're a massive podcast out there. Like I said, we are just launching this thing. And realistically, all it was is for me to be able to come to the platform and say, hey, look, I've got a big dream for this thing. I like you, Patrick, you got a 40-year plan for VT, and congratulations on the VT.com name. Congrats on that. I really just wanted to be able to, use that platform to take this podcast and get a lot more eyeballs on it. And not for any compensation, not for any higher purpose for, any personal gain out of it. Realistically, this is to give back to the contractors, and also to help connect the blue collar people to, the valuetainment industry. So was completely the purpose of this. But to your point, podcasts are not easy. They're not for everybody. I am getting, my feet wet into this podcasting thing, and I look forward to it. I really look forward to continuing on with doing these podcasts, and we're going to grow this thing. And if it's 200,000 subs that you need for me, and I'll come back, if that's the magic number, I'm willing to do that. I'll put in the hard work. It's not about the hard work. I mean, I'm going to do the work anyway. I literally was sending a seed to you, Patrick, that, hey, we've got a different type of thing. I'm not sure if you're already in the blue collar space, but let's just talk about it. Was the conversation. But I think that, when I listened to the PBD podcast today and heard the messaging about the guy that was called in, from San Diego, or from, the plumber in California. I really kind of had to defend myself a little bit on that. I do have that same fire in my belly that Patrick has. And this is not like me coming back at Patrick for anything, because I can tell you that Patrick's people were amazing. Nicole, shout out to you. You were unbelievable in connecting me to Patrick Bet-David. Patrick's an unbelievable guy. This has nothing to do with me coming back at Patrick for anything. This is totally just, putting context back to what the call was about, because there's a lot of young guys out there that want to start a podcast, and realistically, you do have to have a reason for going to a guy like Patrick with your podcast. But my whole thing was different than the approach that was mentioned on here. And I just kind of wanted to clear that up a little bit. Hopefully that, that in doing so, I'm also going to be able to rerun this, portion of my own video that I can put out there and just kind of show Patrick, hey, look, I'm committed to this. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to put out there today. Had a lot of fun on that Minect phone call, and I can tell you that if you aren't connected to the Minect app, if you have a voice out there, if you're an influencer, I suggest that you get on it. I mean, it's free to join, get on that app, and you can get yourself connected, and you can make some money on it. So, there's just different ways, different approaches for, making money out there, different streams, and this is just one of them. So shout out to you, Patrick. Had a lot of fun on the phone call, had a great conversation. Yes, it was quick, and the Minect app is a great way to do so. And just want to congratulate you on all your success, and just wanted to make a quick little rebuttal video to our conversation, because I think it was just really misunderstood and taken out of context. But I appreciate the phone call, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks. So going to stop sharing the video, or we'll stop the video right there. So anyway, I'm going to be posting this video. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about the future plans that we have with this podcast. Really wanted just to be able to create this content. Wanted to let guys know that, hey, Contractor Stories is a place that, you young guys out there that want to get started in this space, get yourself connected to this type of a podcast. You can get yourself really get the stories of the guys that are just like you guys. I mean, everybody started from somewhere. And for you guys that have been, kind of chopping through this for the last, 10, 15 years and still struggling, these stories are going to help you get to the other side. We want to let you know that, hey, everybody struggles out there. And, the truth is, there is help, there is people, there's mentors out there. And realistically, this is kind of the context of what the show really wants to do, is we also want to be able to connect you guys to the right people. So hit us up and subscribe to our channel. We do need these subscribers in order to keep this thing going. We will be doing a lot of live events. So we're going to be going to many shows, many trade shows. We'll be at a lot of different events, and we want to have fun with this podcast. So anyway, Jim and I look forward to meeting people, getting out there, getting to see people. We're going to continue to make this content. We're going to continue to grow this channel, and we're going to have fun doing it. And I hope that you guys like the content that we produce. We would love your feedback. Definitely like and subscribe to our YouTube podcast that we're trying to create here, and I'll leave some links in this post on this one here, and we can talk about it down the road. Anyway, that's all I got for today, and just kind of wanted to make a little content on the phone call that I had with Patrick and David. Had a wonderful conversation, and it was a lot of fun.
Entrepreneurship, got that inspiration. Yeah, now I'm just doing it. Working on these projects, my ideas I'm pursuing. No matter what the problem, the solution, I'm proving it. Let's talk about it and open up the dialogue. Contractors telling their stories about how